Okay, so today we are going to hit up a different fishing spot. As I promised, I was going to take you to some bank fishing. I think I'm going to plan to go to a pond. We've got all these stormwater retention ponds around in my area of Oklahoma in Tulsa. So the family and I are going to head out and see what we can catch. We've got another relatively hot day today, but we're gonna try and beat the heat and get out there a little bit earlier. It's not supposed to get hot till like late this afternoon, so we're gonna do that. No butterfly on my head today, and I got a fresh haircut. That's nice. Now that helps out a whole lot with the heat. Don't have as much fuzz on the top of my head. But first, we're gonna go to some place to see if we can find some fishing gear. With a couple things we want to pick up. Probably gonna go to Academy though. There's a fishing rod that I like. I don't know if they have it at Academy, but we'll see if we've got it there or not. Because I don't know if I have enough fishing poles. I honestly don't think I do. That one's not mine. That's my wife's, in my defense. So, we'll roll the intro and we'll see you guys at Academy. They look like worms.
You have money. I don't know why you keep asking for
They're
your
trick
dollars
worms.
on a card. You're not getting any dollars.
So I'm in desperate need of some topwater lures.
You should get this.
And I think I'm gonna get a little frog and a big frog. Toss those in.
$5.
Don't see any of the Guggen frogs. There's some Guggen baits. A lot of stuff out of stock.
We're getting some.
Some lunker logs?
Yeah, he got some for them with their allowance. And
Oh, okay.
I need to refill mine.
No, you got this.
But they don't have the watermelon.
Yeah, but you.
They're just about out of stock of almost everything. Or, well, not almost everything, all the good stuff. Don't have a ton of options reel-wise or rod-wise. Not the one that I wanted, but I did find another one. Let's go over here. Oh, where's it at? So, we've got this guy right here. And I know what you might be thinking. That's the exact same thing as your other Lew's setup, but it's not. Because, as you can see, instead of white, it's bright green. Now, it doesn't make a huge difference as far as catching fish, but I feel like the fish are gonna like this better. Not only that, but I'm just gonna like it better because it's not white and it's not gonna get all dingy. And then realistically, ooh, my wife wanted a bait caster anyways, so I'm gonna give her my other one that kind of matches her rod reel setup, so that's what we're gonna go with. So Eli broke his pole, so he's getting a new pole. Well, he didn't really break it. I kind of sort of broke it. He got it stuck and I tried to get it unstuck, but it was so tiny, so we found some other small ones. And then this guy's getting a small one too because
Careful.
he likes to hook people whenever he casts because he doesn't look over his shoulder. So we're getting a little one for him as well.
And then birthday presents.
Instead of a full size.
It's for our friend's kid.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, this. But we don't have to push a button. We can just do this. But I think this one's broke it.
No.
I think they're excited.
No, it can do that.
I know I'm excited. I like this color.
Yeah. It comes out.
Plus, I'm gonna have to teach my wife how to cast a bait caster.
I can do. I was using mouthpiece.
Oh, okay.
See, it does that for storage.
I love you, Daddy.
I love you too. Okay,
Grab your bottle of water.
gotta get ready. Got to restring this, or well, string this new one.
Mine. Look at mine.
You got a new backpack
New
as
shoes.
well.
And some more.
And apparently we went shoe shopping,
Got one for them.
so that way you guys don't have to see my silly toes.
That jug of water is for you three.
And these will probably not stick in the muck whenever I'm stepping around on muddy lake shores.
No, I'll carry the water for just.
All right, let's rig this up. Okay, string this up. Dealing with tiny line, or well, not tiny line, but tiny in comparison to my sausage fingers. I gotta use mechanical fingers.
Pay attention to what you're doing.
Okay. Time to put on the ridiculous line. But it matches the pole and the reel. Ooh, that's getting kind of warm on my hands. Well, that spooled up fast. This is chaos. Thought I was just rigging up my pole, but I forgot that I have an entire family with me. And we bought new fishing poles. And I just realized that this bait is way too big
You want this?
for that little hook. A Fat Albert would work
So I was
just
gonna put
fine.
on Noah's.
Plus, that won't cut into my tackle. So, a slight hiccup. Didn't realize this when purchasing this line, or this rod reel combo, but after reviewing the footage, it is true I did not lose this piece. It was off on the store, and I'm missing the spool tension setting. So I'm gonna have to figure that out, and I guess either take it back or see what I can do to find another piece. Tried one of my other rods and it didn't work. So, but I'd venture to guess that another same brand, a Lew's brand, will do the trick. I'm gonna have to talk with Academy about, it's probably what happened, is some dishonest fool lost theirs and just took it off of that one. So today we're gonna try and see if we can cast a bait caster with a completely free spinning spool. That's gonna be mildly challenging, but here we go. All right, first cast with no tension. Let's see how bad we backlash. Oh, almost instantaneously backlashed, but not as bad as I thought it would be. Ooh, I do like the way this reel should be the exact same spec wise as my other one, but I don't know why, it just feels like it reels better. I see some little tadpoles in the water. I'm going to oh yeah, that's right, no spool tension, so we're gonna have to use our thumb like a pro, and as you can see, I am not a pro. So let me fix this, and I'll get right back to you guys and introduce you to this spot that we're at and give a little back history on it. So, whoa, figure out this, here we go. So, as I was saying before, I'll give you some kind of history on this, or well, and this location. Like, so this is a pond, it's a stormwater retention pond, and as we're walking around it, we're gonna head to a spot where I've caught a 2-pound bass, and it just is good good area to find bass in, good habitat. That's the word I was looking for. Matt couldn't come up with the word habitat. My daughter's coming with me while the wife and the other kids are working on finishing up, setting up their tackle and whatnot, and then they'll come join us. And if we don't catch a bass before then, they will most assuredly spook everything away. Oh, look at that. The loudest one that I have is coming. So anyways, in East Tulsa, there was a flood back in the 80s, I think it was. The whole area flooded real bad. And so the city of Tulsa and the Army Corps of Engineers got together and came up with some sort of a flood prevention program. And since then, really, East Tulsa hasn't flooded, because what we have here is we have these stormwater ponds, and what you can see is we're in a really big like valley. This is all man-made, little dugout valley. There's Matthew across the little pond there, and some geese. And you can see across the way there's a concrete like ditch. There was a creek, and it, you know, as far as I understand, it's a naturally occurring creek called Mingo Creek, and they just kind of built onto it. So we have, what happens is when we get bad rains, all of our stormwater drain into the creek, and then if the creek overflows and the creek can't handle it, it overflows into these big valleys. These ponds you can fill up all the way to the hills around it without flooding entire neighborhoods. And so we have them checkerboarded all across East Tulsa. There's a handful of these ponds, and they have catfish and bass and sunfish, and I'm sure other species that I have yet to discover in here. Hello, goose. We're not here to bother you. So that's why I say, when I say that we've got spots available to us to fish within 5-10 minute drives, no matter where we're at. This is one of those things I'm talking about. It's not just big lakes that are renowned for bass fishing and stuff. You also have these little ponds as well. And you know, one of the things about bass fishing is you say, well, they're clearly, you know, if it's overfished or there's too many people fishing it, there's no way that there's any real size bass out here. Well, I've caught a nearly 2.5 pound bass. Now, that's not a giant bass by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a pretty decent sized bass, and I suspect there's bigger ones. Oh, look at this little duckling. He's a cutie. He's a cutie. Where'd the rest of your ducks go? A few weeks ago, she had several ducklings. That may not be a happy story. So this particular one, I believe, is called Redford Pond. They all have their own names, but we're gonna fish it over here in this spot where I caught that 2.5 pound bass. And I know there's big enough ones in here, because the thing is, most bass fishermen catch and release, so they go back in. And so there's a reality that a big fish that you catch out of one of these ponds has probably been caught more than once. You know, so that leads me to believe that fish aren't very smart, contrary to what people think. They think, oh, if it's overfished, you know, the fish aren't going to bite on a certain lure or something. Or maybe it is that they've just never seen anything as crazy as what I'm throwing, and that's why they'll bite on these, in these pressured, as you will call them, ponds. So let's get to fishing and let's see if we can catch anything. I should have probably left one of the cameras with the family that's all the way across the pond, so that way we could see if they catch anything. So I hate to say it, but hopefully they don't catch anything, because if it didn't happen on camera, it doesn't count. Let's see, I'm afraid to cast it far because I don't have that tension to adjust. Got to get over the weeds, that's why it's tricky. Hey, if you go over, baby girl, if you go over to where that concrete is, you can cast out past the weeds. There's a little break in the weeds. It's tough for kids to fish in this particular area. Oh, yeah, that's good. bird's nest. I'm doing phenomenally on this new reel without my little handicap of the tension adjustment. And I think this has a higher gear ratio than my other reel. It's not supposed to, but I feel like it does because I am, oh yeah, there we go. I saved that one. Because I'm like barely reeling it and I'm yanking this lure up to the top of the water. So let's just fish it a little bit slower and see how that works. Oh, there we go. All right, let's see if we can cast back in there and pick ourselves up a bass. Just got a bite and the camera wasn't rolling, and I'm gonna try and run it into the same area and see if we can land ourselves a fish over here. It was definitely a good bite, but I don't think that fish is gonna strike twice. Oh ho 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 ho, I think he is. Oh, he's following me. He's following my lure. Let's see if we can fool this guy a third time. Let's just run this a little bit slower because I'm pretty sure that this gear ratio is just a little bit harder or higher than my other reel. So I'm just gonna reel real slow. Let's see if we can get another hit. Oh, my spinner's all fouled up. You got tangled? I got mossed. Let's fix our poles. And I will say this, these ponds are not really serene by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure you can hear in the background the highway that is right there, because these are in the city. Granted, Tulsa's not like a giant city, but what I'm getting at is there is a slight benefit to that, and one of the benefits being that I don't think the fish care a whole lot about noise as much. I don't think they're as easily spooked by noise because they're just used to a ruckus going on all the time. I will say that these stormwater ponds are very scummy. They're full of algae and such, and I'm actually thinking about switching over to a topwater frog just because the frogs right now they're spawning, if you will. They see a bunch of tadpoles out, and I have a feeling that there are bass that are waiting to munch on them. There's my daughter without any. You're going to mom? Probably not on your own. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm switching over to a frog. One of my new frogs that I got today. I like to test them out and see how they do in these ponds. Never really ran them in these ponds. So I'm sure that it may have been noticed that I run a swivel on the end of my line on all of my rigs, and people may say, oh, that's that's too busy and the bass don't like that. I've caught bass on it, so stop telling me these things. Also, this helps you out, so when you're fishing kind of on the go while bank fishing, you don't have to carry around a couple of poles to have everything rigged up in a quick fashion. You can carry the one pole and then switch pretty quickly and easily to a different lure without having to retie and break off and retie and all that stuff all the time. It's just a little bit easier to run it that way, and that's the way I do it. And maybe it's a lazy way, I don't know. Maybe people think that that's the wrong way, and that's fine. They're allowed to believe that. It's a free country. I can fish how I want to fish, and this is how I want to fish. I want it to be enjoyable. Oh yeah, that's the ticket. Get the frog right in the, there we go. Now let's see. See if anyone wants to bite. Let's cast right into the wind because that's what would make the most sense. Yeah, I see. There is a bunch of little tadpoles. Look, I got a froggy. All right, into the wind. That was a bad cast. I'm actually really glad that that tension adjustment knob is missing, because now I get a chance to really practice my thumb discipline on this bait caster. Really get back to the basics. I really have been relying too much on technology, I think, and I think sometimes fishermen do that, where, you know, I hope you guys saw that where I cast like directly into a bush, but I think that fishermen get a little handicapped and they think, well, what I need to do is I need to buy better equipment, or I need to get there's a special lure. And the reality is I don't think any of that's the case. I think that you can catch fish on just about anything with really any budget. You don't have to have a ridiculous budget and buy like the fanciest name brand stuff. I think that there is such a thing as quality that you want to look for in a lot of stuff, but you can find quality at a good price. And I know you see in the video, I mean, I'm not running like real expensive equipment, but it's also not like the cheapest equipment. But I think you can get away with cheaper stuff pretty easily. Let's see if we can work a different bank though, because I think I've sufficiently fished this area. Like I'm getting the hang of this, casting without having the benefit of that tension adjustment. So I don't know, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, I might still, I mean, you know, I paid like $100 something for this rod reel combo, and it's missing a crucial piece. But I mean, I might look online and see if you like buy parts for it cheap and then not worry about it. I mean, I would just take it back, but there's two things here. One, I'd have to unspool it and waste all this line. Not that I have any shortage of it. I bought like 500 yards of it like 3 or 4 years ago and still have like several hundred yards. And then when I bought the boat, it came with this stuff, another 500 yard spool. So I have like a limitless supply of this ridiculous 80-pound high-vis braid. And so I'd have to re-spool it if I go get a exchange unit. And then the academy I was at, this was the last one they had in stock, and I have a feeling that that's kind of the case with a lot of them. Man, it is just kind of windy, and we are just like on the wrong bank for this. We need to move to another spot so we don't have the wind right in our face. I think that's what we need to do. I think this is the spot. This is where it's at. I can feel it. I can feel it. I think. Here, fishy, 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 fishy. Here, fishy, 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 fishy. That is actually a bass call. I don't know if any of you are professional hunters or callers or whatever, but that's how you call a bass. That's what I was told by a pro bass fisherman once. There's a family across the little way over there. I don't know what they're doing, but looks like the boys are bothering those ducks maybe? I don't know. You know how boys are. Or maybe you don't know. I don't pretend to know you. I've got the angel over here. I don't know what she's doing. What are you doing? She's looking at the grass. Matthew's just gonna fish right here in this hole. What are you doing? Seeing if there's any bass in there, he thinks. He's gonna toss a lunker log in there in like 6 inches of water. There may be bass in there. I don't know. You do you. I'm gonna reunite with my family. See if they've caught anything. Or, well, I can see that they haven't caught anything. See if they got any bites. You caught a turtle? Oh, looks like they did catch something. They just released it. You caught it on that? I told the viewers that this lure will catch something. Oh, that's on a chatter.
Not a chatter. I meant the spinner.
Yeah, that's not the spinner. That's
the chatter. That said that.
That's a chatterbait.
Yeah.
That's not the spinner, but it's similar rig.
That's what I caught the turtle on. I've got a few other bites, but I don't know if it's a fish.
So if you're looking for a turtle, that's the bait to use. I'm going to go check on Matthew, who appears to have gotten himself stuck. Yep, he's gotten himself stuck. What are you caught on? I don't even know how you managed to get stuck. Hold my pole. Let's see. Oh, you're loose. You're not caught on anything. Either that or I've got the magic touch. If you rig this up weedless, it'll go through those weeds a little bit better. That was a weird, janky looking hook. You just found it?
Yeah.
So most of my kids' tackle box is comprised of found lures and hooks and tackle. They just find things wherever. One more cast in this area, just for good measure.
I found this hook right there.
You found the hook here?
Yeah, I found it right there.
Yeah, they just find stuff. They find stuff and add it to their tackle box. See, you can fish on a budget. You don't even need to have a lot of money. You can build your tackle box up by going around and picking up after people who get their stuff hooked or stuck, or people who are just, you know, terrible and litter bugs and just leave stuff laying around. I mean, honestly, I picked up enough line in a lot of the places that I've been. Look at this. They found stuff.
And hook.
I'm just talking about it. And careful.
And
These are kind of rusty hooks, so you probably just throw those away.
And we found keep these.
You can keep the weights, just be careful with the hooks. See? I've found almost enough line tangled up in trees that I've cut out and thrown in the trash to probably spool up 7 or 8 reels by now. Not saying that you should use used line, but I'm just saying you'll definitely find lures and hooks, all that stuff, just by walking around your local pond or lake or wherever. So I haven't really talked about my tackle box, which we'll probably go over in detail at some point, but it's really a tackle backpack. And what's nice about it is I've got this little spot where I can toss my pole in while I change my rigs out, and which is not, you know, a huge deal in a lot of places, but in like when you're on like relatively muddy spots or like real steep shores where you can't really set your pole down, I've got a means to set it down so I can change my rigs out. And remember how I was talking about those swivels that make life a little bit easier? This is a lot faster than cutting off and retying, and that's particularly useful for the kids because they are quite frequently needing their rigs changed out one way or another. And another benefit of the swivel is with 80-pound test, it is near impossible to just break the line off. So if you get stuck on something real good, instead of trying to, you know, I guess you could cut your line, but then depending upon how fast or how far you're cast out, you may lose, you know, 30, 40 yards of your line. But if you've got this swivel on it, that can now be kind of the weak point. You can put a glove on, wrap your hand around the line and pull, and that swivel will bend out, and then you can save some of your line at least. I mean, you'll lose your lure or whatever rig you're running, but at least you'll save 30 or 40 yards of your line. Well, there we go. I completely, entirely missed the catch because the camera wasn't running, but look at this.
Just use it as bait, Dad.
It's not a bass, but it's a pretty fish.
You can use it as a lure.
This.
Show Mom this baby fish.
Whoops. This is a little sunfish.
Show Mom this.
They got little spines, so you gotta be careful. And she's a pretty one. This is, ooh, it's peeing on me.
But show Mom this.
Ooh, it's warm.
Just use it. Show
Look
Mom
at
this.
this.
Just show Mom
Calm
this.
down, calm down. This is a pumpkin seed sunfish. You can see it's pretty blue
Can I touch it?
on its face right here.
Can I?
Yes, you can touch it, you weird kids.
How can I?
All right,
Okay.
Use it as lure.
let's, no, we're not gonna use it as bait. That's for another day.
Show it. Oh.
It's got a spiky spine on it.
Oh, by the
Alright.
way, Noah went involved.
So
Let's show Mom this.
we're going to let this guy go. Shit. All right, there you go, little guy.
Bye, fishy.
A slight explanation on this color combo and the way that this rig is set up. The logic behind this is this Junebug color. It works good in dark, murky water. This skirt's getting torn up. I got to put a replacement skirt on it, but and then the chartreuse works better and a little bit better visibility. But here's the thing about this trailer, and the reason I like to run a trailer on it is because if this spinner gets fouled up and it stops spinning, you still have this crazy tail that moves around, so you still have some sort of movement on your bait, and that's real beneficial. So it's just an easy bait to use, and you don't have to be super skilled at it. And like I said, I'm no means a professional at all, and yeah, that was just a little sunfish that we caught, but it's still a fish nonetheless, and it will catch bass. I've caught more bass than I've caught. In fact, that's the first fish I've caught on it that wasn't a bass. I've caught white bass, I've caught largemouth, I've caught smallmouth, I've caught just about all of the different species of bass on that particular lure. Never a sunfish though, so that's interesting. I didn't even know that they would go after something like that. That's a little tiny fish. In comparison to this, that fish had quite the appetite to want to bite onto this guy. So we'll keep throwing it and we'll see if we can pull in the bass. Well, that was a long run. Love you too. Oh, there we go. There we go. Got that one on camera. It's another pumpkin seed. I yoinked that one right out of the water.
We got a fish!
We gotta announce it to the world.
Ooh.
There's another pretty fish. You're all dirty though. Gotta spit the hook as it came into the air. I just yoinked it right up onto the shore. All right, that was a crazy ride, I'm sure, little guy. But here you go. Back on in you go. Woo, took off quick. Well, apparently this bait does really good on sunfish in this pond. I didn't know that. These guys are being aggressive. You saw the size of that fish. This is kind of a big lure for that fish. Can't even hardly fit in its tiny mouth. Usually where there's little bluegills of sorts, there would be bass. Well, I mean, the bass snack on those things all the time, but maybe that's why these little sunfish are hanging out in this area, is because the bass aren't here and so they don't get snacked on. So at least we caught something today. I told you all that that tackle will catch something. I have traditionally caught bass on it. That was the first time that I've caught a bluegill on that, which is kind of neat. And hopefully you got a little bit of insight into some possible local fishing areas. Even if this isn't your locale, you can always search things out like this, you know. Take a look at Google Maps and look around and see what you can find. I'd say all in all, it was a good day. It wasn't too terribly hot, and we caught some fish, which is a first for this channel so far. So until next time, we'll see you on the next adventure. Oh, and one more thing, that new reel that I've got, you know, I don't think I'm going to bother too much with that tension knob. So comment below, what would you do in this situation? Would you take it back and deal with it, wait for another one to come in? I'm just going to live with it, practice some better thumb discipline with the bait caster, and maybe I'll get online and order that piece at some point. Or maybe I'm just going to run without it for the rest of that rod and reel combos days. So let me know what you guys think, and like, comment, subscribe. Those are your tasks, and we'll see some more videos of some more local area fishing. Next couple ones are probably going to be bank fishing. We'll see. And next time, hopefully, we'll see some bass instead of some little tiny itty bitty sunfish. So now, until next time, we'll catch you on the next adventure.